Hello and welcome to Nature Watch with Coed Lleol, part of the Small Woods Association. I'm Tara Crank and I'm here today to talk to you about bees. There are over 20,000 different species of bee in the world and over 270 in just Britain. Today I'm going to talk to you about identifying some basic species, how they live, some threats that they face and how you can help. First of all, let's talk about what a bee is. It's thought that bees evolved from wasps about 100 million years ago. Instead of being carnivorous, they started eating pollen and nectar from plants. Their body is made up of a head, a thorax, an abdomen, 6 legs and elbowed antennae. That just refers to this little bend here. They have 5 eyes, a proboscis, which is like a little tongue, and 4 wings. They're generally very hairy and that helps them to collect pollen. Now we're going to move on to look at some different types of bee. I'm going to group them into 3 sections. First of all, we'll look at the honeybee, then we'll look at bumblebees, and finally we'll look at solitary bees. You've probably tried honey before. Not all bees actually make honey. In this country we have the European or Western honeybee that makes our honey. It's easy to recognise because it's got a long narrow body with dark stripes on top of yellowish brownish stripes. Honeybees are eusocial. They live in colonies that can reach numbers of up to 80,000 in the summer. Each colony has a queen, workers and drones. The queen lays the eggs. The workers do all the tasks around the hive, including fixing it, keeping it cool, and nursing the young bees. The drones' only purpose in life is to mate. Honeybees are not considered wild bees because they are cultivated, kind of like livestock. Bumblebees are easy to recognise because of their large, roundish, fluffy, cute bodies. Bumblebees are eusocial too. They live in nests of around 50 to 100 bees and they have the same division of queen, workers and drones. Instead of using honey to get through the winter, they keep small amounts of something honey-like, but it's actually only the queen that lives through the winter. The rest of the nest dies off. She goes underground to remain dormant until the weather improves, and she will then establish a completely new nest. 2 easy species to recognise are the buff-tailed and white-tailed bumblebees. They have the classic black with yellow stripes and either a white or a buff, which is kind of beigeish coloured tail. Another one to recognise is the common carder bee. You can recognise this by its gingery coloured thorax and its light brown and dark brown striped abdomen. They are well camouflaged in dry grass, which is where they prefer to make their nests. You can see this one tending to a small amount of wax cups as it's establishing its nest in spring earlier this year. The red-tailed bumblebee is another easy spot since its workers have a completely black body apart from a bright red tail. There used to be 27 species of bumblebee in Britain. Now our numbers have dwindled to 24. Solitary bees make up the other 90% of bee species in Britain. They live in different ways. Some live in deadwood, those are called carpenter bees. Some live in the ground, they're called mining bees. Some live in masonry or clay, those are called mason bees. And some use leaves to build their homes. In their nests, there is either a tunnel system if it's in the ground, or there'll just be a long tube shape, and this will consist of separate cells where they lay an egg, leave a supply of pollen, and then build a wall to partition them. They build the wall out of whatever they have made the nest in. For example, with resin bees, they make their walls out of resin, and leafcutter bees make their walls out of leaves. Here is a red mason bee that has made its nest in an unused pipe. Right now you can see a leafcutter bee making a wall to patch up the end of her nest. Look at the yellow blob on the rear legs of this bee. That is a collection of compacted pollen. Honeybees and bumblebees both have pollen baskets. Now look at this solitary bee. Notice that the underside of its abdomen is covered in yellow. That is where it collects its pollen instead of on its legs. Solitary bees have a hairy underside in order to do this, called a pollen brush. In the UK, we've lost 97% of our wildflower meadows since the 1930s. This has been devastating for our pollinator numbers, and they're in decline. There are a number of things that you can do to help. So one of the main issues is that they've lost their habitat and places to forage. So if you have a garden, you can ensure that you have bee-friendly plants such as borage, lavender and buddleia. If you don't have a garden, you can find out about your local green spaces, and if they haven't got wildflower areas already, write to your council and make a difference that way. Another way that you can help is by spreading the word. Many people don't understand that save the bees means save our wild bees. Wild bees are the ones that are suffering most from habitat degradation and loss. So simply by spreading what's wonderful about them and this knowledge, you can make a difference. Finally, it's great to learn more. One, because they're fascinating, but two, because if you look at resources like the Bumblebee Conservation Trust website, they have a calendar of flowers that will enable you to have habitat for bees throughout the year. Finally, check out the Blooms for Bees app, which has a great identification guide on it, where you can also log the species of bees that you've seen, so you can contribute to our scientific understandings. Quickfire bee facts. Bees have 5 eyes, 2 compound ones on the side of their head and 3 where they can only see light and dark. They can also see in ultraviolet, so flowers look very different to them than they do to us. There's like a little map that shows them towards the nectary where they can drink the nectar. We wouldn't be able to have tomatoes, ketchup or any of those products without bumblebees. They're the only ones that can pollinate tomato flowers. They do something called buzz pollination, which is when they detach their wings from their flight muscles and then contract them and buzz really fast. That shakes up the flower, covers them in pollen, and then they're able to reattach their wings and fly off. These are some of my favourite books for learning about bees. The one on the left, the bee book, is where I got the diagrams from today. The two in the middle are fantastic in terms of the photographs and the accessibility of up-to-date information. The one on the right is a little bit more in detail if you're looking at identifying bees. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, there will be more on the rest of the Coed Lleol channel. Please like and subscribe. I'm Tara Crank.